Academy. When he moved to Florida a few years ago, he somehow has all the promos from that camp, and he found my promo and sent me like a clip of it on Facebook.
Right.
Holy shit, I was embarrassed as fuck. So I was like, how many people have seen this and then say, oh shit, that's to do with the terrible ass FCW promo? Because it was awful.
Yeah.
It was god awful.
Be happy that Veronica here, who's co-hosting with me, very quiet girl, didn't see it, because she would have probably messaged me, send me the promo, and would have said, come on, you want to say your world famous line?
Ooh, what's the world famous line?
Come on, say it. Come on.
All bad.
All bad.
All bad.
All bad, Dave. That's probably what she would have said, huh?
Yeah.
Because she sends me some promos, she'll be like, Dave, or some big matches, and she'll be like, look, Dave, this is all bad right here.
Yo. I know that list doesn't include any Scott Steiner promos, though. Those are all great.
Those are all great. Damn. So was the promo the hardest thing for you? And
At that camp, yeah.
Yeah.
If I had never had the surgery, or if I had never fucked up my drop down that one time like an idiot, which, by the way, after I got hurt, Bill DeMott finally told people, you're not supposed to slam your fucking arm to the ground or that will happen, and pointed at me. I was like, oh, so I was doing it right. And my fucking dumbass decided to follow everyone off the bridge they were jumping off of.
It's like I tell everybody, always go with your gut instinct.
Fuck, everyone was doing it, so I was like, fuck it, I'll do it.
Yeah, I don't want to look bad. He was just waiting for somebody to get injured.
That's exactly what he was doing.
Yeah.
That's why they didn't say anything beforehand.
Yeah, he was like, oh, there it is. There's the injury.
And he said, that's exactly why I don't say. I was like, thanks, Bill. Like, you could have told me that beforehand. But yeah, all the conditioning stuff and ring stuff, I would have been completely fine with if I would have got to do any of it. But at that time, I was still that was September of 2012, so I was less than a full year in already from my first match to then. So my promos were shit. My promos aren't that good now. Backstage promos, I have a lot to improve on, but back then they were god fucking awful. All bad.
All bad. See, we're going to make you a shirt that says all bad.
Sell it at the wrestling guy store.
Yeah, see? Sell it here. Put your faith. Anyway, now you didn't grow up here in SoCal.
Sure didn't.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Washington State. I was born in Seattle, Washington.
No wonder you like Daniel Bryan.
Come on now.
I knew I liked him. I knew I liked Jorel for a reason. As soon as Justin told me, I'm surprised Justin hasn't messaged me yet, because usually he'll message me something. But I knew.
Why don't you message him first?
Well, he's probably working. Probably.
Who works nowadays?
I know. So you trained in Washington?
Yeah. So my upbringing in wrestling was kind of backwards. So I had no idea how I was going to get into wrestling, but I knew from day one that I wanted to be a professional wrestler. Right. And so I would always go to like the independents as a child. My parents would take me in like Tacoma and around those areas. And there was this wrestler there. His name was Aaron Bolo. And Aaron Bolo had so much going for him when he unfortunately had to retire. It was a accident in a match where a wrestler landed on his temple. He doesn't really remember he didn't remember most of the match until he watched it back later on. But that after the match, he had to get taken to the hospital, and the doctors told him then that was going to be his last match, and if he ever wrestled again, like, he was putting his life at risk. And Aaron Bolo, he appeared on Raw and SmackDown multiple times. Like, he wrestled the Great Khali when Great Khali was squashing people. Okay. He wrestled Drew McIntyre for the IC title when the Money in the Bank ladder match spot was on the line for Drew McIntyre.
Okay.
Going into WrestleMania 26 or something like that. It was something crazy like that. It was on an episode of SmackDown. You can find it on YouTube. But Aaron Bolo is the big reason why I was able to start. He saw me at an LA Fitness working out, and he knew I was a wrestling fan, and he knew I went to the independent shows. So he just randomly, I knew who he was too. I was like, oh shit, that's Aaron. And so he walked up to me, and he just introduced himself, and he's like, hey man, like, do you ever want to be a wrestler? I was like, yeah. And he's like, well, why don't we have a show this weekend? Why don't you come down and get in the ring before the show? I was like, okay. And so I did. The company was Tulalip Championship Wrestling. They were held on an Indian reservation. So that was somewhere in 2011. Back then, the restrictions from the state of Washington like really restricted independent wrestling in Washington. So like unless everyone was licensed, a promoter was licensed, everything commissioned, you couldn't run a show unless you were like on an Indian reservation.
Wow.
So TCW was like the only thing going on in Washington. But I started there, got trained by like a lot of the wrestlers, guys like Ethan HD, who was one of Great Khali's trainers for Great Khali School overseas. Ethan HD, Aaron Bolo, obviously, Mike Santiago. Mike Santiago and Ethan HD just wrestled the Lucha Bros. Penta, and Ray Phoenix at Defy. They're called the American Guns. So those guys helped bring me in. And then after guys like Kellen Wraith and Damon James as well. But after I got put into the business, I started at the Buddy Wayne Academy. And Buddy Wayne is, without Buddy Wayne, I'm not sitting in front of you right now. I probably would have quit already. Because when I met him, I was just really, I was stuck in the wrestling world and I wasn't happy with where I was at. And so when I finally got to train with him, it changed my entire trajectory. So Buddy Wayne, like he wrestled for WCW, he wrestled for WWF, he wrestled all the top guys, he wrestled Macho Man, Shawn Michaels, Steamboat, outside of like any big time star like Ric Flair, Ricky Steamboat said the only person he'd ever let arm drag him was Buddy Wayne.
Wow.
And Buddy Wayne taught me his arm drag, which is like Ricky Steamboat's arm drag. And I'm not a very egotistical person. I'm very like mellow when it comes to that. But I will put my arm drag up against anyone in professional wrestling right now. I think I have the best arm drag in all of professional wrestling. Yeah. But Buddy Wayne, he unfortunately passed away this last June. There was a show, Maverick Pro Show, in June. If you've seen pictures of me like painted with BW on my chest or anything like that, that was what that was for.
Oh, okay.
But without Buddy Wayne, Darby Allin came from Buddy Wayne Wrestling Academy. Everyone knows Darby Allin from Evolve and things like that. King Cash, the Cunninghams, those type of guys. Like without Buddy Wayne, I'm not where I'm at right now, and I owe all my entire wrestling career to him, Aaron Bolo, and all the other guys that I mentioned. So, Defy wrestling wasn't a thing in Washington when I was there. So when I was ready to move down to SoCal, it was literally because I just didn't want to be in that region anymore for wrestling. Yeah. So I wrestled because there was no real wrestling in Washington, especially when TCW folded. I was wrestling in Canada for All-Star Wrestling, and I was wrestling in Oregon a lot for like Dub C and DOA Pro Wrestling, Wrestle Sport, which I still go back to every now and then. But outside of that, there's nothing. So I was in the middle of Canada and Oregon, so I was just going back and forth with them. But it was nothing new. I wanted something different, and I knew I needed something different if I wanted to change my trajectory in wrestling. So I moved down to Southern California, and luckily, Cedric the Hitman, he kind of helped me get started. He helped me get started at Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, which was the very first place I worked at when I came down here. And then Fidel Bravo helped me get started at EWF.
That's your fave, Fidel. Uh-huh.
I love the Empire. And then from that point on, I just started getting to know everyone in SoCal and kind of started getting myself out there and things of that nature. And luckily for me, whether it was for one show, two shows, or continuously working those shows, I've worked almost everywhere there is to be in SoCal, except for like a new place, maybe like bar wrestling now. Yeah. Obviously, I haven't worked PWG, but I've worked 2 PCW shows, and then any other of the big name California shows I've wrestled on.
So I'm sure you must have gotten hit up a lot too once you showed up on that Raw episode.
I actually started getting hit up less.
Really?
Yeah, and
do you know, was it a fear? Maybe they thought, oh, he's gonna crank up his prices.
I mean, I did, but it wasn't anything extravagant at all. Like it was literally maybe like a $10 difference. Dang, and I don't know why. I can't tell you why that happened. Maybe
they thought you were getting signed. I mean, it's possible. Maybe they assumed.
I don't know. I know the first month after that, was probably my busiest month ever, and then after that, it never was again. And it's unfortunate. I don't know why it happened. I don't know if I ever rubbed anyone the wrong way. I don't think I ever did. I didn't act any different after the Braun Strowman match.
I have an idea on why.
I mean...
Because you haven't watched Rocky.
I've almost lost friends because I haven't watched Rocky. Anytime anyone figures out that I haven't watched Rocky...
They looked on Wikipedia. Jorel Nelson never watched Rocky.
Promoters talk to each other. They're like, yo, what do you know about Jorel? Oh, this motherfucker doesn't watch Rocky. Oh, he doesn't watch Rocky? No, fuck that.
And especially if you told Fidel you never watched Rocky, he probably put out there on Facebook, hey, no, he's never seen Rocky.
I love Fidel, man. I met Fidel back in Oregon. This dude used to always... I don't know if I should say that. Fidel loves me in ways that he shouldn't. That's what I'll say.
Hey, to each their own.
Exactly.
We had Fidel, and I really admire him because he overcame a lot of stuff to be where he's at.
Fidel is a walking embodiment of never giving up and hard work.
And he, I love his niece. I think it's his niece, and that's why he works so hard to make sure he's a role model for her. And
fucking Fidel it was the hashtag accountability club for like the first quarter of 2017. Fidel would go to the gym, take a freaking gym selfie, and put hashtag accountability club. And this dude got most of the SoCal wrestlers going to the gym, and just so they could post hashtag accountability club. Like, I had never seen anything like that before. Just because Fidel was working hard and people were noticing. And one hashtag...
Ray Rosas, Tito...
Yeah, it was everyone was doing it. Freaking Kevin Condren would come to the gym that I'm always at. Then he and I would take a photo and put hashtag accountability club. Like, everyone was doing it. Then it died off with somebody. Fidel will tell you who. Like, he blames it on him all the time. I forgot who it was. But, like, Fidel...
If it's an EWF guy, I might be able to guess by just some of the bodies. No, I'm just kidding.
Don't get me started.
No. We don't want to get in trouble. It's a couple of guys, no,
right?
Yeah.
But no, Fidel is awesome, and I love Fidel and everything he does. I gave him shit actually a couple weeks ago at the Covina show because he hasn't been hitting the gym as hard as he was last year. So I just kind of told him, like, yo, get your shit together, and he appreciated that, I think. So we'll see. I know he's still working hard, so Fidel's awesome.
Yeah, that broomstick took him to the...
Shit, that broomstick whooped his ass. It was almost a clean sweep.
Right? You know what? Now, from Washington to here, to SoCal, what is there a difference? Because, we always ask, when they've wrestled in Mexico, and you've had guys that wrestle in Japan, you've had guys that wrestle in Europe, and and even watching it on TV, you could tell there's a difference in the style and everything. Is there a difference in Washington from SoCal, or is it pretty much...
Yeah, so... A lot of people now know about Defy Wrestling in Seattle, Washington. Like, that thing has taken off in its first year, like no one ever saw coming. But before Defy Wrestling, there wasn't much in Seattle up until. So there's promotions now, 3-2-1 Battle that a lot of SoCal guys will work on, and then there's a promotion called Project 42. But outside of that, like, no one brought legitimacy to Seattle like Defy has.
Right.
But before I had moved, Defy was never a thing, and even 3-2-1 Battle and Project 42 in Seattle weren't a thing. And so with Oregon is... I'm not sure how it is now because I haven't been there in almost 3 years. But when I was there, Oregon was very, it was like they were emulating the Portland wrestling days. It was very old school, character-driven, easy, like good guy versus bad guy. The fans want the bad guy to always lose type of thing. Matches weren't as fast-paced as matches nowadays. Most of them are like really fast-paced and things of that nature. Like, the business is evolving, and I think for the better, obviously. But Oregon wasn't like that at all. It was still like shine, cut off, come back, heat, all that stuff and things of that nature, whereas now it's more of like a fight. Like, there's always a fight going on in a match now. With Canada's kind of the same way. Like, the whole Pacific Northwest was, because the Portland wrestling days were so big, like the days with like Buddy Rose, and when Roddy Piper was there, guys like the